Hello friends, in this video we'll discuss the create command in detail. The create command is used to create a relation in a database. The syntax for writing the create command is as follows. Create table name, then you have the attribute name 1, the data type of the attribute, then you have attribute name 2 and its data type, and so on. So if you want to create a relation, say department, with attribute names department underscore name and building, you can execute the following command in SQL. That is create table department, the attribute name, that is dept underscore name. Now data type, let's give it a data type varchar, size 20, building, which is the second attribute name, its data type varchar 20. Now what this command will do is it will create a relation called as department with attribute names dept underscore name and building. SQL supports a number of different integrity constraints. Now while creating a table or while creating a relation, you can specify these integrity constraints. There are typically three types of integrity constraints, namely primary key, foreign key and not null constraint. Now we will discuss each of them in detail. The first one is the primary key constraint. Now the primary key specification followed by the attribute names aj1, aj2 and so on up to ajn indicates that these attributes aj1, aj2 and so on, they form the primary key for the particular relation. Now the primary keys, they cannot have null values, and also no two tuples in a relation can be equal on all of the primary key attributes. So if there is a table employee with id being the primary key attribute for the relation employee and name being another attribute, so if one of the tuples has an id 1 and name say Pratik, there cannot be another tuple with the same id 1 and a different attribute name, say for example Rahul. This is because there is a primary key constraint on the attribute id and no two tuples can have the same value for the primary key attribute. Now the second constraint is the foreign key constraint. The foreign key specification is as follows. The word foreign key followed by the name of the attributes references the name of the relation. Now this foreign key specification says that the values ak1, ak2 for any tuple in the relation must correspond to the values of primary key attributes of some tuples in the relation S. Now this can be made more clearer using the following example. Now consider a table student where there is a foreign key constraint that states foreign key dept underscore name references department. Now this foreign key specification indicates that the value of department underscore name for every tuple in student must be a primary key value in the referenced table department. Similarly, biology should also exist as a primary key attribute for the table department. Now if there is another entry, say id 3 and department physics, but there is no department physics in the table department, and hence you can see that the foreign key constraint in this case is valid because you cannot map this physics to any primary key value of the table department. So in this case you can see that physics is referring to a non-existent department name, and foreign key specification will help us in avoiding this non-existent relationship. Now if you make another entry to the table student, say id 3 and department physics, now this will lead to the violation of the foreign key constraint because physics is not present as a primary key value in the table department. So thus we see that the foreign key constraint in this case is violated. Without this foreign key constraint, what would happen is that we would allow the student table to be linked to a non-existent physics department. The last constraint is the not null constraint. The not null constraint on an attribute specifies that null value is not allowed for that attribute. So for example, the not null constraint on the name attribute of the say instructor relation ensures that the name of the instructor cannot be null. So thus we have covered all the constraints